Okay, so some students are having trouble with images and the captions. This image here, if you click on it, should not be that wide, or the placeholder should not be that wide. What you need to do is you need to make sure that the text box is big enough so that you can actually fit the image in there without it being so small. Because if you're gonna showcase a product, that product should not be that small in a printed publication. So what we need to do is not stretch these like I'm doing here. But there is a trick, and the trick is, I'm gonna go ahead and undo it, is to go over to first, because it was grouped together, you have to ungroup it. So you have to click on it, and when you click, you can click again until you see the darker scaling handles. Once you do that, you're going to go over and you're going to go to ungroup up here in the ungroup button. If you go over to picture format first, you'll see that, just in case you are not seeing it. But most of the time what happens is when you click on something, you do not see, you'll see separate or different uh, tabs up on the top. So when you see those tabs, make sure that you click on picture format. Once you do that, you go to ungroup, you ungroup the picture, then that way you could just, move them apart. And what's happening is this text is wrapping around the text box. That's called text wrapping, and it has to do with this button here. For this too, this image here also is using text wrapping, and it has to do with the text wrap up here. Same thing. All right, so what we need to do is figure out how we can make this image of the iPad bigger. So the first thing that you can do is go back to picture format right over here, and you look around, and there is a fill button here. There's a clear crop. You can crop it. What I would do first is I would crop it. I go to the crop tool, and I would make that space that's around the iPad, make it less space, because we don't need all that space. So I'm going to click on the crop marks here on the image, and I'm going to go towards the inside, closer to the image of the iPad as much as I can. I can zoom in. If I zoom in, you can see what I have done. There you go. So now the iPad's a little bit more fit. And if you want to make sure that it fits in there, you can choose fit here. And if you click on it in the crop group, you have a fit button. So next thing you do is you click away, and now you can resize it without it getting distorted by clicking on a corner sizing handle. You might want to hold down the shift key so it stays at a good ratio without distorting or getting too over skewed. So we do that. See, now I have made my iPad a lot bigger, and I can move it around. And if I decide to move it here, that is great. But keep in mind, when you add pictures to a brochure, you have to make sure that the pictures all are about the same size. So if I go over to page 2 and I look at this picture here, this picture looks pretty big, right? And we can find out how big it is by ungrouping it, clicking away, then clicking on the picture and clicking on picture format up on the top here. The ribbon opens up, and over here you'll notice that the height is about 1.16 inches, and the width is almost 2 inches at 1.7. So again, what you should do is you take that into consideration so that you know the actual or close or estimate size of most of your pictures, and keep them kind of close together so it builds uniformity. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here and click on this one. And right now, if I look up in the width here, you'll notice that it's only just over half an inch at 0.66. So what I want to do is I'm going to widen it. When I widen it by the corner sizing handle, I'm going to hold down the shift key. There you go. And then I'm going to let go, and you'll see that it's a little bit more wider. What was the size or the width of the other image? It was 1.7. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make this 1.7 or somewhere in the vicinity of 1.7. So I'm going to click, drag while I'm holding down the shift key, make it wider. Okay. Remember, you don't want to make it too wide because you want text to run on the side here of the text box. And if it gets too wide, then you're only going to have a few words running on the side here, or maybe each line will have one word, and that doesn't look right either. So maybe keep it about an inch because this is a tall image anyways. So we'll keep it about an inch, 0.18 or so, depending if I gave you guys a size, an actual size, then you can use that size. But when you put back the caption in here, make sure that this caption text box is not wider than the image. Okay, so you want to keep it, keep the caption underneath the picture. All right. And then again, you don't want this to happen either. You don't want these words to get cut off like that. So you have to be careful with that too. You can also try changing the size of the text, right, by going into the mini toolbar and clicking here and decrease font size button. Then again, I don't need all this space, right? So there's a lot of negative space, so I get rid of it. All I need to do is move or resize the text box. That way we have text box that is not too big and leaving a lot of negative space all over the place. So then once you do that, you might want to move it up a little bit and make sure, like I said earlier, that the text runs between the width of the image, so that way it doesn't extend too far over here and make it look like this, which it makes it look out of place. You see that? So you want to keep it to the width of the image.